generally, or maybe if not all of us, a lot of Ghanaians, the stress of paying rent. That's what we're talking about this morning. Now, right now, many tenants actually are expected to pay 2 years, sometimes even more, in advance before they can move into a house or apartment. And I was saying in my business brief that you go around, you check the house, you think that you like the place, and only to talk to the tenant, and he says that, oh, I'm taking 2 years in advance. Then, Charlie, you'll face a change, you know. But it's tough. I mean, it's stressful. And for young professionals like myself or families, just starting out, it can feel impossible, you know. But the government is considering a change, capping rent advance payments at 1 year. 1 year, 1 year. Sounds simple, right? Yeah, but what does it mean for tenants? What does it mean for landlords and the rent market as a whole? Will it really make housing more affordable, or will landlords find several other ways to, navigate it? And to help us unpack this morning, I'm joined by a real estate expert. His name is Engineer Viglo Amegashi. Or Amegashi Viglo, I think that's the name. And he knows the market inside out. We'll talk about the potential benefits, the risk, and also whether this policy could actually transform how we rent homes here in Ghana. And so that's the conversation we're getting in this morning. Engineer Viglo, good morning. You're welcome to the Business Breakfast on Z.
Good morning, sir. It's a privilege to be here with you, and thanks for the education on how to make more money so I don't have to pay rent through buying stock.
All right. Thank you, too, for listening to that one. Very important.
Yes, please.
All right. So let's get into our conversation this morning.
Yes.
Capping the rent advance to 1 year.
Yes.
But first of all, how did we get here? How did we get to paying 2 years in advance, 3 years in advance? Because right now it looks like it's a standard procedure. If you don't do that, Charlie, and the landlords are saying that is what they like. The tenants are saying that's not what they like. They find it difficult to be able to do that. How did we get here?
Yes, thanks so much for that question. I was hoping that you asked that question though. So, rent is about security for accommodation. And before people started renting their houses out, everybody probably had their own house, a much easier house, a much smaller house, a much more affordable house. Then we move. So when you go to another location, you can't really build a house so fast, even if you have the money. So you have to get someone's own. Two things happened. One, trust and ease of collection of the money.
Okay.
Because the best thing should have been rent being paid monthly. If I'm being paid monthly, why not pay my rent monthly? But the landlord can't be chasing you every month for his money. And it's difficult. And Ghanaians are, not very honest and diligent. Some Ghanaians are not very honest and diligent. So it's becoming very difficult to collect the money. So everybody's trying to shield himself by getting security for himself. But two other things happened. When it's becoming very scarce, especially in Accra, you realize that the building is not yet ready, but someone wants it anyway. So you tell him that, okay, it's 1 year in advance. If you can give me 2 years, I can finish it for you, put the tiles, do everything that I want for you. So it's becoming the norm because everybody wants a newer house. So that's one of the reasons why it started taking longer rent.
So first of all, attitude is one. The attitude of the Ghanaian people is actually what brought us here.
Yes. And then the cost of finishing it and making it ready.
Okay.
Also push it along so that the landlord can get some more money and did. Now the third one, when you are renting, is because of the inflation in Ghana. If you pay 2 years in advance and the inflation literally eats up the money, maybe if you have a rent that is 1,000 Ghana cedis, inflation is 25%. Next year it will be 1,005. And in the third year it will become 1,005.
And it keeps increasing.
Literally, it will actually be 1,007. If you don't want to accumulate those costs, you pay upfront. So you pay 3 years in advance. So instead of paying 1,007 in the third year, you have paid 1,000. So you save money.
So from that, it benefits the tenant.
It benefits the tenant. Okay. So smart tenants, when we were in that kind of inflation zone, preferred to pay more in advance. I paid 2 years in advance. My landlord wanted 1 year in advance. You get it? So I have peace of mind. And then you have security. That would have been the next thing. Security, especially if you are a businessman. Even if you are not a businessman, maybe you are a worker. And then your rent is annually. And then maybe your grandmother falls sick when your rent is almost due. The money is in your account. You can't explain to them that money is for my rent. So there is a life to save. After saving the life, then now you have to save yourself because your home is no longer available for you. So if you pay 2 years in advance, you have some peace of mind. You know that as for accommodation, I have 2 years to think about it. I have 2 years to raise that money. And usually if you are very ambitious, you know that in 2 years' time you are going to a bigger place, a better place, a closer place to town. That's the kind of logic we operate with. So depending on where you operate, you will have a preference for which one to pay. Yeah, but there are places in Africa that they pay monthly rent. I think that would have been great
if we're doing that in Ghana.
Yes.
So from what you said, it looks like then the tenants are not seeing the brighter side of things. Is that what it is?
Yes, it's because we don't see things holistically. So if it becomes per annum, it's good. There actually used to be a policy when you go to rent control, you can actually pay 6 months in advance. That was, I don't know whether it's in the constitution, but that was the rent policy. Rent should be paid a minimum of 6 months in advance.
Because I was actually coming to ask you whether it is backed by law.
Yeah.
To do the 2 years thing.
No.
But from what let's stay on the explanation you are giving. So first of all, you talk about attitude, which is a big one. I mean, a lot of people talk about the attitude of some Ghanaian people, which is one of the things. You also talk about the cost to be able to finish the house.
Yes.
And then there's a security bit of it. So you are paying the rent, it helps you to actually, close your mind on those things. Don't let it worry you every month anymore.
Yes.
For 2 years, and then you come back to pay it.
Yes.
But also, it is a big problem for some people.
Yes.
And they say that today I want to rent. I have my 6 months, my 1 year. But you're saying I should pay 2 years.
Yes.
Shouldn't it then be flexible for everybody to be able to do that?
It actually
based on what you think works for you.
Yeah, it actually is. It's supposed to be very flexible. There are a few times that when the landlord is stranded, he would request and insist on a 3 years in advance, especially if the building is under construction or there's a project to be done. And then when the tenant is stranded or the cash flow, then he would also request and lobby that the landlord takes 6 months or 1 year. Okay. Then there's also another issue of security deposit.
Yeah.
So if you have a security deposit of 1 month, you know that if things go bad, at least there is 1 month of buffer for you.
For you.
Yes. So it's a balance. It's an unsaid balance. What happens is when the demand becomes very high, the landlord becomes very notorious. When the demand becomes very low, the tenant becomes very notorious. It's just a game of demand and supply. Yeah.
I see. So, right. Okay, let's come to the issue of law.
Yes.
So, you're saying that there's a particular law that says rent shouldn't exceed.
No, I think it's
you're not too sure about it.
Yeah, advance rent should be paid in a minimum of 6 months. Yeah, it's a tolerance in the law.
Is it
I
minimum?
think it's an article. Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Okay.
So accommodation rents should pay at least 6 months in advance, but it didn't cap the maximum.
Ah, right.
So there, you see, in the rent policies, there are short stays, there are long stays, and there's even long lease. So someone can sign a long lease agreement of 10 years, 20 years, pay upfront. They are there.
Inflation doesn't affect them.
Yeah, and they are happy to save money.
Yeah.
So usually when you are setting up a business place in a hot location, you want to pay 5 years in advance because you are going to renovate the whole building, invest heavily into it, capital investment. You don't want next year the landlord says he's changed his mind. So people have a 10-year policy, payable every 2 years, payable every 5 years, or payable upfront. So it's something that should be subject to negotiation. You get it? That's the issue.
Right. So from your experience in the real estate space,
yes,
do you think it's a problem or not?
For rent to be paid 2 years in advance?
In advance.
I'm actually amazed that people are able to pay rent 2 years in advance.
You're amazed?
Yeah.
But you said you paid 2 years in advance.
Yes, it was not my money. No. Like, there's no way I can give you my money for 2 years. Like, in Accra, a fair rent in Accra is 3,000 Ghana cedis for a 2-bedroom house times 2 years. You are rich. I've not been able to raise that kind of money and just give it to a landlord. Like, Ghanaians must be really rich. Because imagine your salary is even 5,000 cedis. You can't raise 65,000 actually 72,000 and just give to a landlord like that. So that's one of the things that it cripples our cash flow. You need to be a magician to be able to raise that kind of rent.
All right.
Yeah, that's the challenge about that.
So it's a big problem for a lot of people because I mean,
Yes.
I have engaged a lot of young people, and sometimes they say that, oh, I'm going to pay 2 years, I'm going to pay 1 year, and then they
Yes.
begin to borrow and all of that to be
Yes.
able to do that. You can imagine the financial stress
Yes.
that people go through. But then there's a good news now.
Yes.
Government says that they're going to cap it at 1 year, so that nobody says, I mean, nobody charges you beyond
Yes.
1 year
Yes.
rent, I mean, in advance.
Nobody outwardly charges you.
Exactly. Nobody does that. On paper, it sounds good, but
Yes.
practically, what does this really change?
Yes, Ghanaians are happy. It's a code to use when there is a political issue. That's one of the best decisions a government can make, because what paying rent 2 years in advance does is that it strangles your cash flow. You can't do any other viable investment if you are not rich and famous, because for you to commit 2 years of funds to something that is not yielding capital to you is a terrible financial decision. So I know smart guys in Accra. They are renting in a furnished apartment. They pay 1 month in advance, and then they pay 1 month security deposit, 2 months. Such a person will have a better cash flow, money to run business, money to flip goods, money to invest in stocks, money to do a lot of things.
I want you to break that down. How does that work?
If you pay rent monthly, so maybe I earn 5,000. If you earn 5,000, a fair rent for it is 2,000 Ghana cedis.
Okay.
So if your rent is 2,000 Ghana cedis, you have 3,000 to rock and roll, to make business, to buy an iPhone and quickly flip it, to support someone's business, to start some cocoa business. You are flexible. You can probably save another 1,000 Ghana cedis. So within 6 months, you have 6,000 cedis to do a business. But if your rent is still 2,000 and you're earning 5,000 and you have to pay for 2 years, you are looking at 22,000. After 1 year, even if you don't touch your money, if you don't spend much, it's very difficult to raise that money. That's why you have to borrow. And once you borrow, you are not paying interest rates. So your rent is no longer 22,000 in a year. Even 2 years is 48,000.
Yeah.
So your rent is now how much you paid plus the interest you paid plus the inconvenience. So it strangles you.
Right.
So you realize that it's one of the things that keep us working so hard and not being able to break free. Even if you don't want to do a business, you can't afford to go read a master's or go and specialize. If you are a secondary school graduate, you can't afford to go get a degree. So now there is an asset policy and lifestyle coming up. A lot of the lower end jobs, you have to give them accommodation. Because rent is the biggest cost for the employee in Accra.
I see. So you really believe that this will reduce the pressure on tenants?
Yes, I love this. It's one of the best decisions we can make. We should push it to 6 months. The only thing they have to do is to ensure, and policy should make room for the landlord to be able to sack the tenant outwardly if he refuses to pay the next year.
Repeat that.
So it's very difficult to sack a tenant in Ghana.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
the law protects the tenant.
Of course, and also we have that, empathy kind of,
hospitality thing. But
exactly.
you see, when you have a renting facility, you have plans. You know that every year 24,000 is coming. Okay, and that's probably the money you send to your auntie to take care of some stuff for you. So when the time is due and the tenant for any reason is not able to pay, you get stranded.
Okay.
Promises that you've made, people will now think you're a liar. That's the thing in Ghana. We have chain reaction of lies or disappointments. Okay. In other countries where they pay monthly rents, I've seen people moved out of a 2-bedroom house to a 1-bedroom quickly because now their cash flow have changed. Maybe you've lost your job, you quickly tone down.
Yeah.
So you go to a studio. Okay. I see it a lot. But in Ghana, I see people lose their job and they remain in the house.
To stay there.
You get it?
But I think that's a problem of the struggle to find a new place.
A new place.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you really have to, you would have to, because I've heard stories, that one I didn't get to see it, maybe in the US, people move out of even a whole city. You move to the outskirts to save on rent. Rent crisis is a global crisis. It's not a Ghanaian thing. And in the US, you are paying monthly. So if you don't move, they sack you very easily. So you rather move to avoid the embarrassment. So once your cash flow is stranded, you have to tone down your accommodation. But you see, in Ghana, where we stay is a symbol of status too as well. So when we are struggling, we don't want to move. And that's one thing that makes us overspend. There are fair rents in Accra. It's you and I who want to stay in cantonments.
Right. Of course, maybe because of the proximity to maybe your workplace and all of that.
Yeah.
So that is why people would want to stay in cantonments.
It's me who will advise you that your commute should not be more than 1 hour from your workplace. It's one of the
things you
advices
advise,
that I give people.
right.
You don't want to lose more than 1 hour per day driving to work. Okay, but you don't have to stay in a 4-bedroom with swimming pool at cantonments.
Yeah, well, it depends on how much you are earning.
So if you can afford it, then we don't have a
Then we don't
problem.
have
You
a
shouldn't
problem,
complain.
right,
But
definitely.
if you can't afford it and you try to stay in it, then you are strangling yourself.
But there are a group of people. I mean, some Ghanaians actually think that the 1 year is too much. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think we can do 6 months.
Mm.
Yeah, though landlords
Are you
don't
speaking
like
from
it.
a landlord perspective or tenant perspective?
I'm trying to be neutral here.
Okay, so try and see things from both sides.
Yeah.
Does
I
a
think
6 months work for landlords?
Yeah, the landlords don't have too big a problem. Their only problem is if they can get their money on time. Yeah.
That's the biggest problem for landlords.
Yeah, if you can pay them in due time, they don't have a problem. The only need of the landlord is usually if they want to use the money to do another project, and you shouldn't struggle your tenant's finance because you want to build another house.
Yeah, so I don't think it should be so.
And inconvenience him. So that one, I don't think is fair on the side of the landlords. Okay, I'm trying to speak for everybody. Yeah, there are places where I pay rent and there are places where I get rent. So 6 months will be great. Yeah, there's a place where I'm owing 1 year rent.
You're owing 1 year.
Yeah, if my landlord listens to this, he will just you see, I'm not being fair to him.
Yeah.
And then what excuse would I give? Oh, he's already rich. I'm very insensitive. You get it? It's not good. You can't do that. It shouldn't be done. You get it? And there's a place where someone is also owing me 6 months though. So we have to have a balance. I think the balance is 6 months in advance. It's fair. Because if you study any fair business, real estate is their biggest cost, rent. If you decide that I want to stop paying rent, you even make a more terrible decision, build. If you study any family, their rent is their
Why do you
biggest
say
cost.
that's a terrible decision?
For a business, have you ever seen a bank owning the branch? Usually the headquarters, they build it, but they don't build the branches because the payback time for the asset is 20 years. You want to freeze 20 years whilst you can double your money every month. It's a terrible decision. You get it? So rent many years in advance is not a fair policy. And any country that cares about the citizenry, I'll tell you something about this government. They've made some decisions that I realize that, wow, this is fair to everybody. And I realize that, this one is not fair to the rich. It's like they are hunting the rich down. And they make someone, and I realize that, oh, this one is a political decision to get votes. But this particular policy, I realized that was one of the best decisions they've made. And even better, let them make it 6 months. Like, it will even help. So there's an issue of cash flow. There is a policy that we called, I'm trying to remember the word, fiscal stability. Fiscal stability. There's a financial word like that. It talks about how much money is circulating in the economy. If people pay a lot of rent advance, the money that circulates in the economy reduces. The spending capacity of the people reduces. So you feel like the economy is difficult. But if people pay rent monthly, they can make a few more bad decisions because by the next month they can recover. And then they'll spend more, they drink more, they get more wives, they get more children. And the economy will be more interesting. Though there are bad decisions, it will be good for the economy. Yeah.
Well, so one of the arguments of landlords is that you are saying now we should do 6 months.
Yes.
One thing that the landlords are saying is that the 2 years or the 1 year, let's say the 1 year that the 2 years that they take actually protects them from people from default.
Yes.
People saying that I don't have the money now and you have to come next week and all of that. Do you think it's a fair argument?
Yes, very fair. So the government should do 6 months and do strict default policy Once you are in debt, leave before I come. And if I come, I can lock the door, switch off the power, switch off the light, and beat anybody.
But you didn't buy the light. I bought my own light.
No, by access. Once, so the places that you have monthly and daily access. Once your time is due, like if you go to a hotel and it's 12 noon, you have to disappear unless you are paying for the next. Strict default policy. Yeah, to have very short rents advance, you have to have strict default policy. You probably came from somewhere to that place. If not, you go into a smaller place. You get it? So once we are going for shorter rent, advance rent, strict default policies, security deposits, and the landlord should have the power to sack anybody who is in his house and refusing to pay.
What would that look like in practice? Break it down for us.
A lot of chaos. Yeah, but it will be chaotic, but it will also enforce awareness. Because once the person is even paying 6 months, if he makes the best decisions, he should have the money for the next 6 months by the time it's due. I don't know how people are able to raise 2 years advance. When I came to Accra as a national service personnel, that means my father has to pay. And when I started working, how much did I save from my national service? It's not possible. I don't know how they do it. Like I wish to learn. I wish to know how they do it. That thing was a big crisis. Yeah, and for that one, unless the tenant is willing to pay 2 years in advance, great. And the reasons why he will pay, I told you in the beginning. But if not, landlords should not force. Any landlord that forces to get more years in advance, they want to use to build another house. It's greedy. And charge another 3 months in advance. I've seen one somewhere that I stayed. Whenever the landlord takes his rent, you see that it starts foundation, then it stops. So it's like the landlord is just tapping his feet. You are going to pay rent, is going to build another one to collect more rent from you. That is a fair argument by tenants. Fine. You get it. So we need to look into that.
I see. All right, exactly 9:30. This is a business breakfast on Z101.9 FM. And this morning, we're talking about the government's decision to actually cap rent advance to at 1 year. And my guest is engineer Amegashi Viglu, and he is talking to me about exactly what we need to do in terms of some of these things. So you are free to join the conversation. If you just tune in, feel free to send me a WhatsApp on 0544321019, 0544321019. You can ask your questions on that particular number. You can also call us on 03039566641, 03039566641, and you can also engage us on our social media platforms. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please drop a comment under the live stream and we'll read them for you. All right, engineer, let's continue the conversation. Now,
yes, please.
If this policy comes into force, what adjustments should we expect? Maybe higher rents, bigger security deposits, or stricter screening?
Stricter screening is really something we have to do. So there used to be places where when you are trying to rent, they ask you where you work.
Yeah.
They need to know where you work. And then that means you can charge higher rent because now the person can
But
pay.
that is also not fair.
As for rent, it can be as high as the next person can pay.
Why is that so? I mean, shouldn't it be based on, say, the value of the property?
If we base rent on the value of the property, you and I cannot pay. If you look at a property, the property should pay off in 10 years. Anywhere else beyond East Legon, properties pay off in 20 years. So the landlord is already lenient. In the Volta region, the property never pays off. And they are complaining. In who? They say rent is going high because you have students and who police students have come to take their houses.
Yeah.
And it comes from Accra. Rent is 1,000 cedis a month. And in who is 300 cedis. It gives the landlord 500. Change the ceiling. I want POP.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
You get it. So there's a supply and demand here. And that's one of the things there was a time people said the government should regulate the price. I said, no, the price can never be regulated. If you regulate the price, I won't rent the house. I'll stay in it myself. You get it. The price has to make sense to me. But regulate the cash flow. That one you can. 6 months in advance. And give me the opportunity to sack the person if he defaults. Okay, so that he knows that I can sack him, he will not default. That's the great number. And I've seen places where people rent 2 bedroom, and then you want just 1 bedroom, they just lock the other door.
Oh, really? Happens.
Oh yeah, there are situations like that. So you want a 1 bedroom and it's a 2 bedroom facility, just lock the other door.
But I'm sure it's rare because I haven't heard of that
it's
before.
rare, but it happens. That because you don't want to pay for another room, you're a single man. What do you need 2 bedrooms for? You get it.
But in most cases, the landlord won't give it to you at all because I mean he's looking for somebody who can pay for.
It's because of the nature
place.
of the demand now. But that's something that I've seen, especially at the higher end rental spaces. We've seen it. You really like the place. You can't pay for 2 bedrooms. Like, okay, I can lock that down. So that washroom and that room is still in a fine state. Because there's wear and tear.
Yeah.
And an average building within 5-10 years, there will be wear and tear. You have to service it. There's a financial element of things that actually believes that rent in Ghana is not high enough beyond East Legon. Yeah, it's at that point that if you've listened during the real estate conversation, we tell people that don't build, it's not worth it. A Nigerian once called me and asked me how soon the house will pay off. I said 10. I said, that's not a business. How soon does it want to pay off? He said 6 months.
Hey,
like, dude, what kind of
is that what they do in Nigeria?
Yeah. Anyway, because he's a businessman. If you are doing business, you double your money every 6 months, every year.
Yeah.
If you are doing real estate, rent business, you need to wait for 20 years. So if they regulate how much rent I can charge, it will no longer be interesting to build, except for the fact that people build for security. So I'll only build one house. But it has to be profitable enough for me to build one house and build more to be able to rent to people. Yeah, there needs to be an incentive. The others will go into even a worse housing crisis.
Right.
Where the house is not there.
Okay, so I mean, let's talk about the higher rent bit of it. So you're saying that it's not appropriate or it's not right to I mean, price a rent based on the value of the building. What should it be based on?
Not that it's not appropriate; it's not feasible. So
here in Ghana.
Yeah, so it's not feasible. You know how much it costs to build a 2-bedroom house? Assuming it costs me 500,000 Ghana cedis, and I want to recoup my rent in 10 years. I need to be charging 4,000 cedis a month. Will you pay 4,000 cedis a month for a 2-bedroom at Pram? No. If you put at East Legon, I can give 10,000 a month for it. But that means the land will be very expensive, so the value really shoots up. But when you do financial assessment, you cannot use the value of the house, absolute value, to do it. It's a perceived value of how much the people are willing to pay. So if I have a 2-bedroom house and it's 1,500, and you come, you don't even talk, you pay 1,500. I've already made my mind that next year is 2,000. When next year you come 2,000, you don't complain. Next year is 3,000. You pay. But once you begin to complain or you say, oh, it's too high, I'm leaving, then it's no longer a feasible rent. So I have to now fall back to the previous price until someone can pay. That's how you get to negotiate. So if the room is empty, then you can negotiate. There's a room in Ho that someone is willing to rent and have paid. The tenant that is inside has refused to leave.
Why?
The rent is good. The place is good. Another person is willing to pay and wait for the tenant to leave. The one in there is having his best life is refusing to leave. If I'm the owner of that room, I increase the price. It has to be so high that only one person will be willing to take it. This one Ghanaians will not like me for it.
I know, right? But anyway, so but you didn't make any. You didn't make any comment on the bigger security deposits. Are we likely to see something like that?
No, security deposit should be 1 month. 1 month is fair. Yeah. Once it's becoming bigger, why are you taking my money to go and see? That's the challenge. It's about cash flow. Who is keeping whose money?
Yeah.
Other people should not be keeping. And you see, when you have a landlord and a tenant situation, the landlord is more financially enabled. Now he is keeping his poor tenants' hard-earned savings. You've taken 1 year in advance. You want to take another 2 months of security deposit. What kind of security do you want? Give me the security in law. If the time is due and you haven't paid, please leave before I come and do self-defense for that kind of thing. Yeah, you are intruding in my property. Your tenure is over. So once you are there, you are an intruder.
Right.
I have the right to shoot you.
I say I have the right to shoot you.
So
all right, anyway.
I
get the logic. Yeah. Now, but do you think that this capping this rent advance to 1 year would, prevent people from investing into real estate in any way?
No, that one will not prevent, because they will get the opportunity to charge more, and then the tenant will also be enabled to pay more. You see, it's because we had to raise 2 months, that's why we used to complain. So now that it's just one, it's because we have to raise 2 years. So now that I have to raise just 1 year, it's easier for me to raise. So you no longer be conscious, very conscious of the monthly cost as it used to be. And the 1 year, a lot of places are already doing it high, and once the demand is really high, they are doing 1 year in advance. Yeah. So
And usually it's also because the rent is high. So
Yes.
they say, okay, then let's just do 1 year. But
Yes.
for the places that it is not too high,
so when the rent
that's where
is
they
low,
go.
then I need 3 years before the rent makes sense for me. You get. So if you cap that place, but those places that the rent is low, is some very old buildings built very long ago
Yeah.
that have been inherited, that are not in good shape. Those buildings should actually be demolished. But Ghanaians are very sensitive. You keep a building for 100 years, you are risking your tenant's life. Those buildings should be salvaged, sold to developers, redeveloped into much more feasible properties. So there's a thing about a property rate that people don't say in Ghana much. Property rate is made to disincentivize patching and underutilization of real estate. So that when the property rate becomes so high and you can't afford it because you don't have any feasible project on the building or on the land, you are forced to sell it to someone who can utilize it. So Ghana, we go to Osu, there's a big plot, there's one chamber on it. The person said it's for his uncle who has not come back to the country in the last 10 years, and he's still keeping it. If I become president, I slap 100,000 on it, he will sell it. That plot is worth $5 million. You get it? So there needs to be a balance. Yeah, and I believe the balance is shorter deposits, flexible rent charge, and then strict establishment of once you are in default, leave my house.
Okay.
Everybody has a house in their hometown, so if you are in default, you go back to your hometown, you regroup, you find
Those
something.
of us who have our hometowns here in Accra, and
So you
we
shouldn't be
don't.
renting in Accra. Yeah.
Well, we don't want to live in a family house. So
So your taste is you have a wonderful taste. You pay for it.
all right. Anyway, usually when government fixes one thing,
Yes.
other problems come up. Do you foresee any problems coming up with this one
Yes.
year? Come.
Yes. Tenants refusing to pay the subsequent rents. That's the problem. And the second one
Is
is
the likelihood that the tenant will default?
the tenant will default. So that's why we need street insurance, the default policy. When you go to court, it's a default policy. They give the person 6 months to stay in the house and raise the rent. You are defaulting. What are you still doing in the house? And now raising. So if you stay for 6 months and raise my 2 years, now how do you raise the next one? You get it? It shouldn't be like that. You should have left the place and go regroup and come back. So default will be very high. And then, tenants will also now spend, they become more financially indisciplined because they don't have to save 2 years or 3 years in advance. So they feel richer. If they are wise, they begin to buy land, build their own house, which is not the best of ideas, but it's a good idea. But if they are not really wise,
it's not the best, but it's a good idea.
it's a good idea. At least you've frozen the money. But if they are not very wise, then you can take a second wife, you can take side chick, you begin to drink more bottles of beer. Then you see that you mark time for long.
What are you even saying?
People don't like this. There is a landlord in who will tell you that you can't rent in this house for more than 3 years. So after the first year, he gets you a plot to buy. And by the third year, you must have a building so that you leave. I know one who told us that this job, you can't do it for more than 2 years. After 2 years, you have to go back to school or get a better job. Because the job came with accommodation, feeding, everything. When people come, they don't want to leave. And then if you do such a job for 10 years, you realize that the salary is not sustainable.
Yeah.
It can't take care of you and your family now. So there are some unsaid policies that are in our interest. Yeah.
I see. But the higher rent thing, don't you think then it's not really solving the problem? Because if now I pay say 1,000 cedis for rent, and I'm being charged for 2 years, so that's like 24,000.
Yes.
Then now government says let's do 1 year, and my landlord says that I've increased the rent to say 2,000.
Yes.
Isn't it the same thing essentially?
No. One, your landlord can hardly increase it to 2,000. If he says I increase it to 2,000, the thing for you to do is to leave and get a better one.
But if you're not getting a place, because the demand in Accra, we
then
know
your landlord is in good business. But it shouldn't be possible for a landlord to double the rent and there is no other this thing option.
Maybe he will do it gradually. Maybe the first year he will make it okay. Let's start paying 1,500. If you can't, you can leave.
You know that,
but somebody else will come because there's people are looking for room. Somebody will come and take their 1,500 like that, and then the next year you can increase it again. So it's almost the same thing because if I'm not paying the 2 years anymore and I'm paying 1 year at the same amount, it's also I don't know if you get the question.
The situation you have created is not it's not practical. It's iterative. Yeah, you have using a worst case scenario which cannot cut across the whole Accra. That would be one crazy landlord and his tenant. There is an unsaid policy.
But there are some landlords. I mean, it won't be just one.
Yeah,
that's a
few of them. It's like transport. You choose Uber, you choose Bolt, or you choose Trotro. You have and you can choose taxi. You should have choices. So once the person says he has absolutely no choice, there is something we need to look into. There's an unsaid policy about rent which doesn't work in Accra, but I believe it works outside of Accra. Rent used to be pegged to the cost of a bag of cement. So they would have said, how much is a bag of cement? So one room is a bag of cement. So if the place has like 4 rooms is like a 2-bedroom house or even a 1-bedroom house. The bedroom, the hall, the kitchen, the washroom. That's about 4 bags of cement. So if a bag of cement is 100 cedis, then it should be 400 Ghana cedis. You get it?
Okay.
So you are not expected that you would wake up and charge us 800 Ghana cedis. But when a bag of cement becomes 150, then they can tell you that now a bag of cement is 150, so at least you should be able to pay 600 Ghana cedis. That's one thing I've realized in Ghana. When the new government came into power, the exchange rate came back to 10. A few of things reducing price. Cement reducing price. What else reducing price? Petrol reducing price.
Transportation.
I used to pay 15 cedis at the washing bay. It used to be 15 cedis for very long, which was not the best. But they kept it. Then they probably just decided to send it to 20 cedis. Then the city appreciated. Do you know now I pay 20 cedis to wash my car? After everything has come down. And they refuse to now come down. So there are some hooligans who will refuse to play by the rules. But there are also rules that we are living by. Now, another person sent me a message. He said, I want a 2-bedroom with POP ceiling and built-in wardrobe. I responded, not possible. And I think she even added budgets. So I want to pay 1,000 cedis a month. With the kind of things you asked for, that means you want a more flashy place. A more prime place. You pay 2,000 cedis for it. But she wanted to get the local spec, the contemporary spec, and pay the local price. You get it? So there is an unsaid law, there is a balance, there is an equilibrium that will be established. That when you see the place and you like it, they'll charge you an amount. If you feel it is overcharged, you walk away. If you feel it is fair, you pay. Yeah. And you shouldn't be tied to a rental property. That's why I'm telling you that if you are going to do a lot of investment into which will make you tied, you pay longer years in advance so that you don't get a crazy landlord who changes his mind.
I see. So essentially, the big question is: will this actually transform the market, or it will just reshape the pressure from where you sit?
It will transform the economy at large. Ghanaians will have more spending capacity.
But in the real estate market, in the rental...
For the developers, it's still good. Our tenants can pay us. We can charge them a little more. Yeah. For us, we are always happy to charge more. And every businessman is happy to charge more.
Well, of course.
To charge more?
Well, of course. I mean, once you are in business, you are in for the money.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's also talk about enforcement and regulation, because one of the challenges we face as a country is enforcement.
Yes.
When we put in place certain things, we just leave it like that. We just drop the policy there, and then we expect things to work by itself.
Yes.
I want you to, tell me how do we make this work?
So the policy is established. The enforcement, since this is not a criminal activity, the police cannot rise by themselves and do anything.
No, but if it goes against, if the law says 1 year and people are charging 2 years, you think
somebody
police
needs
cannot
to
come
report. So if you meet a landlord who charges you 2 years and refuses to negotiate, now you have to go and report that landlord to the police. Then the police will now come and meet the landlord. Why are you charging 2 years? You are supposed to charge 1 year. Now you want to stay in the house of a person you brought police to come and discipline. So you will discipline the landlord to ensure that he pays 1 year, but you can't stay in that house. He will tell you that he's no longer renting, or he doesn't want you in the house, which he has the right to do. That's how come rent enforcement is very difficult. Because once there's a tenancy relationship, you have become more dependent on each other. So you can't fight yourself at the onset. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. When you are inside, you have paid 1 year in advance. Then the landlord comes. He is supposed to crave your indulgence. That, oh, my father is dead. I want to do a flamboyant funeral. So can you pay me 2 years in advance? Then you will now say, no, I don't want to pay. Yes, I have the money. I'll pay if you reduce it or if you give me 10% discount. But if he says, pay 2 years advance or leave, then you can now go to rent control and crave his indulgence to have mercy on you because you don't have the money, which is possible and very, very possible. The other issue now will now be the time of going there and filing these issues. Litigation has a cost.
So does it mean this the whole thing? The tenants are actually at the mercy of the landlords.
No, sometimes the landlords are at the mercy of the tenants. Because I have a building that could have paid me so much more money. And when you say 1 year in advance, let me give you another scenario. I've consumed 10 months. Within 2 months, my rent will be due. And then the landlord tells you that, can you give me for the next 10 months so that you are 1 year in advance? I really need the money. Can you help me as a brother? Instead of taking a loan, I might just take my rent from you. What would you tell him? It's within the context of the law.
Right, I get it.
You get it? So there needs to be a level where we compromise with each other. There needs to be an equilibrium. Because landlords have needs, especially when the landlord is retired and the building becomes his sole source of income. Or the landlord may be busy, but the building is dedicated to a particular activity. He needs the money. Or the landlord took a loan. So sometimes that means landlords cannot take loan to finish houses because now he has to be taking the money annually and the loan is accruing interest. So we'll tell you that, dude, this building, I took a loan to finish it. I understand the law, but if I can't get 3 years in advance, I can't pay the loan. So bear with me. So, okay, I have the money, I'll pay. Okay, I don't have the money. Let another person come. Yeah, there's an equilibrium and buffer going on where people are compromising with each other.
So essentially, the policy is just going to guide the things. It doesn't strictly enforce anything. No. That's what we are saying.
Yeah, that's what policies do. They just establish a guideline. Then we are now supposed to play by it. And when we don't, someone needs to report and follow up and ensure discipline.
So what role should the rent control play?
So the rent control usually only acts upon reports. So when there is a severe scenario, especially when I'm inside and the landlord is abusing me to pay 3 years because he wants to go and roof another project, then I can let the rent control settle issues for us amicably. That one, the rent control can give you some security. Or he decides to sack you, leave tomorrow. Whilst the law says you need 1 month notice. You get it. And then when you sack me, you have to refund the money from me. There have been situations where tenants got opportunity to travel abroad and they asked the landlord for their refund.
Yeah.
What would you expect the landlord to do? He has used that money to buy cement. He doesn't have it. So you tell you if you can get another tenant, they'll give you the money. So there's a lot of room for compromise.
For both of you to Jojo and then come to... I'm looking at maybe my final question to you, looking at our time. Looking at the bigger picture, do you think that the government should focus on affordable housing. I know what your opinions
To
are.
build it.
To build affordable housing, other than controlling advances and all of this, worrying themselves about advances.
But you know the one they are building, they never finished. You want them to get more problems for us. No, they should. The policy would actually empower us more. So now every tenant can now have another 1 year in advance to buy a plot, start a project, build a chamber and hall. He can quickly build his own house and move out. And then, once one house at a time solves the housing problem than 10,000 units in a proposal, looking for $10 million to just go and freeze somewhere very far away that nobody even wants to stay even if it is finished. How much rent can you charge there? That project is the most infeasible real estate development in the world.
Engineer Amegashi Viglo, thank you so much for your time. Maybe finally, I said that was my last question, but maybe finally. So, if you were advising government today on this particular tangent for the capping, what would you say to government?
The government, they don't listen to us, Government, please, you can make it 6 months and create more room for enforcement you should create the eviction policy. Okay, that once you are in default, leave my house. That way tenants can play, landlords and tenants can play by it. But the people I want to advise is the Ghanaians, people like me. Please, this law is in our interest. Let's not disappoint the landlords so that they become more intolerant towards us. Let us pay them their due rents in time. And then the other money that we get to save, let's commit it to good use. Let us not use it to sponsor frivolous lifestyles that keeps us tenants for longer.
Right.
Yeah, let us use to empower ourselves, probably work out. It's the joy of landlords actually when their tenants become rich enough to work out and they get a new tenant. I don't think landlords don't want you to be rich as we believe. Yeah. So.
All right, Joshua, thank you very much. Engineer Joshua Amegashi Viglu, thank you very much for your time. I'm really grateful that you came to share your thoughts with us.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
All right. Okay, so that was our real estate expert who happened to be my guest this morning, Engineer Joshua Amegashi Viglu. We've been talking about whether the capping of rent advance payment at 1 year will transform the rental market. And he says that it is actually going to transform the market really. He wants us to look at doing 6 months because it helps both the tenant and also the landlord in the long term. So those are his thoughts. Feel free to also drop your comments under our live stream on Facebook at ZFMGH and also on YouTube at Z Multimedia. We're going to post a video on at Z Multimedia on YouTube, so feel free to visit that platform and drop some comments there. Hopefully we can read them for you whenever we have another conversation along those same lines. But that will be all for today. That's how we wrap up today on the Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM. We're back again tomorrow for the Thursday edition of the show, and we have very interesting conversations coming up tomorrow, so please do well to tune in again. But thank you very much to my guest, and also thank you to you for listening to us right from 6:15 till now and being part of the show. Until we meet again tomorrow, please take care of yourself and keep listening to Z101.